I always, as you like to pack your lunch so it's not a banana sandwich, so you can take it home. But in life, we have to follow the trail, don't we? Life is a flowing stream. Early on, we have to follow that trail. Now, I've shared these with you before when we were studying in Mark about my quiet spaces and places. And this picture represents so much of what my life has enjoyed in the outer world. And I've enjoyed hiking and backpacking through the years. But this is a special place because some things were revealed to me on this trail. It began a 5 year journey that you know little about. 5 years ago, when I began a journey, when as represented in the 13th chapter of Hebrews, where we are told about entertaining angels unawares. You may remember that Dale Evans and Roy Rogers had children that were small children, and they lost one at 2.5, and she wrote a book entitled Entertaining Angels Unawares. And so life as it unfolds very well may bring us to that point. The trials comes. Always with trails, there comes trials and temptations. But James reminds us, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. It's a guarantee that in this life that none of us asked to be a part of, we are going to face trials. And some of you are under some of the most difficult trials in your life you've ever faced. But we know this, that trials lead us to either a worldview or a biblical view. We heard very clearly the biblical view today. And we know that perhaps you have committed this proverb verse to heart, that when we trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not to our understanding, in all our ways, we're to submit to him and he will make our paths straight. So I mentioned first bridge as the bridge I called trials. The second one I called trust. And then the third one is what Abraham faced. He said, after these things, God tested Abraham. And he said, and he answered. And so he faced a test. And every one of us will face the test. But the last one that I want to call attention is the one I call triumph. Through Jesus Christ, we will triumph over everything that we faced in this life, because our hope is not in this world, but in the world to come. This is a passage I mentioned. I introduced to my congregation at the time about my journey as I first was diagnosed with Parkinsonianism. Then I was diagnosed with whatsoeverism, and then it was Parkinson's, and then it became hereditary spastic disorder, and then it became PLS, and to my dismay and surprise, I was downgraded to ALS a couple of weeks ago. Now, ALS is in the family that I'll introduce to you. It's Lou Gehrig's disease, and that journey ago. But every one of us, each of us, has something going on in our life. Now, ALS for me, when I heard that, was a live skunk, because everybody, all of us, have something in our life that's like a skunk. It stinks. And I wanted to mention, Jenny is not with us today, but Jenny and I shared the PLS because she has primary lateral sclerosis for a period of time. And she knows about the Skunk family, and all of you are having things in your life that you know are like that skunk. But I have renamed it. First, let me say the reason I'm even saying this to you is, first of all, I want to raise the level of awareness of ALS. I want to be informative. I want to find out and things, and I want to be supportive. But also, I want to glorify God at this season of my life. And to do that, God's part is this, that He is a loving Savior. And so ALS for me is that He is a loving Savior. But there's a part that I play in this journey, and that is that I want to be a loyal servant. And that's what I pray, that ALS will enable me to be a loyal servant, that I might, in this part of my journey, glorify God. I'm not asking that, I'm not presenting this to you because, as I say, that I'm special. Every one of us have something like ALS going on in our life every day, and we have to find a way to deal with it. But what is different about our journey, like with Abraham? Why is it that Abraham stood the test, and why is it we are able to stand the test? I think it's revealed in what the pastor said this morning, and that is that we serve a living Savior that too can be our ALS, that we are serving a living Savior. I take 2 pills now, none of which is supposed to help much other than I just call them my hope pills. I don't know that they do anything for me, but I know that my hope is not here, that my hope is beyond life. Now, it gives me a platform to talk with others about the end of life issues because it gives me a window of opportunity. I've had an opportunity to talk to my brothers. The remaining 3 of us are all in the harvest years. And so we've all had a good conversation. Of course, Willeen and I have spent a lot of time in these 2 weeks processing this. But, you know, it used to be that sex and death were unspeakable things. Now, sex is spoken too much. There's some things need to be kept undercover. That's not what I don't mean that. I mean, but I guess it's appropriate. But we need to have an open forum to talk about end of life issues. And not many people are at a point that they are willing or are comfortable talking about that. But I feel like there are many people who want to talk about end of life issues, and it gives me a platform to do that. And so that's where I am, and I wanted you to know I'll be doing this as long as James and Larry and Mike allow me to. But there are things that could very well affect what I do, and I'm plowing around those stumps, learning how to clone my voice and trying to do a hologram so I can leave that for Willeen to always look at. Uh, but we have had a chance to process this with our family. And that's what grief is. I agree. We've had our sad times, happy times, and we've had our sad times. Pauline, I know she and she came and sat in my lap the other night, and we had a chance to cry, to talk, and so as we did, I asked her what she missed most, and she surprised me. She said, "I'll miss you." Then I said, what else? She said, I'll miss your Social Security check. We processed. And for me, you have to understand that I'll never get beyond processing this with humor, because that's, as it was said of one of our late presidents, whenever he went to a funeral, he wanted to always be the corpse at the funeral, and he wanted to be always wanted to be the bride at the wedding. And that's sort of what a middle child is like. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this personal story, and we'll continue the journey together. And as it states in this text, they walk on forward together. Let's pray. Father, how grateful we are that you are our loving Savior. Help us to be loyal servants. Help us, Father, to be able to process the grief of life that comes to each of us, so that we can move on to enjoy the most of this life and to look forward with the promise that is ahead in the life to come. Bless us and all who are on the same journey as we are, that we might be able to move forward together. For Christ's sake, I pray. Amen.